To summarize this, he was once approached by three men who themselves thought that they were expressing some action of extreme religious behavior. And one of them, he said, I will pray, and I will pray continuously. And the other, he said, I will fast, I will not break the fast. And the other said, I will have nothing to do with women. All of them thought this is an act of zuhud, extreme religious or ritual. And in the modern world, we think that these kinds of people, it is some sort of indication that they have done what? Committed themselves to some high level of worship. What did the Prophet ﷺ say to them? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said to the first man, I pray and I stop my prayer for my needs. Aw kama qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I fast and I break my fast. And I love women. Subhanallah. Whoever is not of me, and whoever, this is my sunnah, is the correct, akhi? فَمَنْ رَغِبَ عَنْ سُنَّتِي فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. So whosoever gives up my sunnah is not from me. Here the Prophet ﷺ was trying to show these three men who were exhibiting very proudly extreme views to do what? In order to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is rejecting those extreme views. We have among the Muslims many, unfortunately, many, especially young men who are adopting extreme views. And they are thinking by that it's a sign of religiosity. It's a sign of taqwa. It's a sign of loyalty. In fact, they are misrepresenting the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. They are misrepresenting the Muslims, and they are causing aggravation throughout the world among the Muslims and outside the Muslims. And this kind of extreme behavior, these extreme views lead to extreme behavior. Another one is ethnic grouping and prejudices. How the Muslims naturally, it is natural for me and it is natural for you to want to eat the food of the people I was born amongst. It's natural for you and I to wear the clothing of the people I'm born among. It's natural for you and I to speak the natural language which I'm born among, to have a feeling for my people, of the geography, of the ethnicity where I'm born. This is natural. And this is why nationalism and tribalism, this is why it's an imperceptible disease. It's like the gas that comes from the stove. You can cut that gas on and go to sleep and you will not see the gas, right? Isn't it? You won't see the gas, but maybe you won't wake up. Because it's an imperceptible disease. It's an imperceptible poison. Nationalism is natural because it comes from a natural source, the love of self, love of people, concern for self and people. Some people call it patriotism. But it leads to extreme behavior. The Prophet ﷺ, he condemned this kind of behavior. And it starts from an innocent way. You enter the masjid and you look to sit with the people from your place. Me, I'm African American, African Caribbean, whatever we want to call ourselves. Afro-Australian, whatever. So here I'm looking for Afro homeboy. I see one in the masjid, oh, subhanallah, kaif halik, akhi, mashallah, where you from? Then we sit down together. We talk our homeboy language. So every time I come to the masjid, I look for him. He comes to the masjid, he looks for me. It's happened innocently. What happens? We start to group ourselves and we also look for other brothers in Australia. Akhi, you know any other brothers from America? You know any other Afro-Australian brothers? We start to want to eat in our own homes. We want to eat chicken because it's what we like. We start to grouping, and then after that, we start seeing some other groups, some behavior we don't like. And the same thing happens with the Pakistani, and the same thing happens with the Indian, and the same thing happens with the Afghani, and the same thing happens with the Arab, and the same thing happens with the Lebanese, and the same thing happens with the Somali. All of them do this innocently. But what did the Prophet ﷺ do with his companions when they arrived in Medina Munawwara? What did he do to modify this natural tendency? These were Arabs, but some was Muhajir and other was what? Ansar. The Prophet ﷺ, he put them together as brothers. So they share the same food, they sit in the same place, they discuss with each other similar conditions. He did this ﷺ as a wisdom to modify that natural tendency. And they were Arabs, but they're just from different places. We also, brothers, have to be very careful of this ethnic grouping and prejudice, because ethnic grouping leads to prejudice and bigotry. If you don't sit with others in the masjid, if you don't walk with others, if you don't invite others, if you don't answer the invitation of others, you will not see them as your brothers. You will see them as outsiders. Once you see them as outsiders other than yourselves, you will prefer yourselves over them. And shaitan will come in between you and them, that you're sitting on this side and they're sitting on that side, and sometimes they think they don't know why you're looking at them that way. And they will think the same. And at times your culture will clash. And then there will come, some behavior will come, and someone will call the other one, you black so-and-so, or you stupid Paki, or you this or you that. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And what did the Prophet ﷺ say to Abu Dharr radiallahu anh when he said something like that? Did he say, may your face be covered, may your forehead be covered with dust or something like that? Ya Abu Dharr, you have uttered something from a speech of the Jahiliyyah. And on that, Abu Dharr radiallahu anh, he reformed himself, and he called that person whom he said that word to, and he apologized, and he put his head on the ground and told that person, Bilal radiallahu anh, put your foot on my head. So we too, we have to kill this issue before it rises up, because it is one of the most destructive elements among the Muslims. One of the most destructive elements among the Muslims. Yet, it is something seemingly it is tolerated and is passed down from grandfather to his son to the grandson. And that you will find among the Muslims this disease, and they don't even realize the disease exists. And we find it among the Muslims in the form of what we call cultural baggage. Baggage that we carry from wherever it comes from, and we bring it right inside the religion. And when we teach other people the religion, what do you think we also teach them? The cultural baggage also. And it distorts the brotherhood. It undermines the brotherhood, and it distorts the image of Islam. Another one of those characteristics is ideological polarization. Now, what does this mean? That is, among the Muslims, they take for themselves certain ideological positions, whether it be madhabi positions or whether it be other ideological persuasions. So, one man says, I am Hanafi. I don't pray with the Hanbali. I don't follow the Hanbali Imam. I go to a mosque who is Hanafi because it's binding on me to follow my madhab. What has he done? He has polarized himself. And this is what has happened to the Muslims to such a degree that it was not just long ago, not too long ago, that even in Mecca, at the Kaaba, what were the Muslims doing? When the adhan was called, what was they doing? The Hanafis was praying behind a Hanafi Imam, Maliki behind, Maliki Imam, Shafi'i behind Shafi'i Imam, and the Hanbali behind Hanbali Imam. How many years ago this was? 25, 30 years ago. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward the individual who sparked a call to eradicate this. May Allah reward them. Can you imagine the reward for the person who brought up this issue and made a call for its destruction, so that today when the Muslims go to Mecca, whatever you want to say about the government there, whatever you want to say, when the Muslims go to Mecca today, is this existing today? No. When the adhan is called, they would pray behind one imam, mashallah. Look at the situation in the world today among the Muslims, in every country, in every place. Not only now is there's madhab now, but you got the different persuasions. Some people, they don't want to sit with, they don't want to pray with, they don't want to go to a masjid with groups of Muslims who are outside of their persuasion. So some people said, I am Salaf. Alhamdulillah, all of us, we want to be Salaf, inshallah. Because who are the Salaf? They are the best people. They are the three generations that the Prophet ﷺ, he guaranteed that they are upon guidance. 3 generations, guaranteed upon guidance. قَرْنِي ثُمَّ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ يَلُونَهُمْ. His generation, then those that follow them and those that follow them. They're under guidance, and surely they're under guidance. Although there are some differences in issues of fiqh, they are under guidance. So those are the Salaf, and all of us, we want to follow the Salaf. But it doesn't mean that because I take that name for our group, and we name this masjid, Masjid as-Salafi, Masjid as-Salafi. It does not mean that we are Salaf, we are the Salaf. It only means that this is what we prefer, we call ourselves. And that's okay to call yourselves whatever you want. But it doesn't make you better Muslims than another group of Muslims because you took that name. Otherwise, some people call this Masjid Quran. What better name is that? Masjid as-Sunnah. What better name is that? But it doesn't make those people there what they say it is. It's just a name they took. Alhamdulillah, it's a good name. So you and I should not take a name for ourselves and adopt, because of that, some polarization against other Muslims. Because what will happen is you will refuse to be with them, and they will refuse to be with you. You will blame them, they will blame you, and the farq is there. The division is there. Shaitan, he has conquered. No matter how righteous you think you are, how righteous they think they are, Shaitan has won, because he has created a division between you and your brother. When the iqamah is called, what does the imam say? Astaw. I'tadilu. Straighten your ranks. Close the gaps. Shoulder to shoulder. Feet to feet. If you straighten your ranks, Allah will straighten your hearts. And Allah does not look to the ranks which are what? Crooked. Inna Allah yuhibbu alladhina yuqatiluna fi sabilihi saffan ka'annahum bunyanun marsus. It's an undermining of brotherhood. It's an undermining of the ummah. It's an undermining of our mission to take positions of polarization in ideology. No matter how righteous it is, you have to find a way to tolerate your Muslim brother. What about the companion who came to the Prophet ﷺ, the man that came to the Prophet ﷺ, and he asked him, and I don't know the exact narration, maybe the Sheikh can tell me. He said, Ya Rasulullah ﷺ, our Imam, we believe our Imam, he is a fasiq. Should we pray behind him? He said, أو كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, prayer is incumbent upon you behind every Imam. Whether he is good, he is not good. For if he is good, the prayer is for you and him. And if he is other than that, then what? The prayer will be for you. So we don't look into the masjid and see who's leading the prayer. Or that Imam, he smokes cigarettes. I ain't praying behind him. Or this Imam, he's a Hanafi. or this Imam, he's this, or this Imam, he have this view or that view. As a brother, he asked me yesterday. One brother asked me yesterday. He said, Akhi, you were saying that we are lucky to